We actually murdered a Latin phrase up there. I don't know if you've seen it over the top of the bar. So most people know the first part, in vino veritas, which means there is truth in wine, or in wine there is truth. So we added our own one, which is in Cervisium Fabulis, which means in beer there are stories.
That's awesome.
So,
Wow. That's awesome.
and to me, that's it. It's like life is so meaningful when you can share experiences, share stories in a comfortable place where everyone can just set their tools at the door, set their ego at the door, come in and chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great feeling.
Yes.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tales, Ales, and Trails. I'm Nick. This week's episode is with Steve K, owner of Allies Pub. We sat down with Steve at Allies for a great conversation. We talked about everything from his roots in the UK to how he got here to Chico, to his passion for brewing, to his start with British Bulldog Brewery, how he transitioned that into Allies Pub, and then even now today with Allies becoming a community benefit organization. It's an awesome discussion. We really appreciated getting the time to talk to Steve, to hear his story, and we hope you enjoy hearing about it too. Without further ado, please enjoy this episode of Tales, Ales, and Trails with Steve K of Allies Pub. Well, Steve, thanks so much for having us. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're happy to be here. I kind of want to kick things off by just asking really generally, how are you? How are things going?
So good. Things are going well. It's been an interesting time post-COVID, as I'm sure everyone tells you. We're still trying to rebuild out of that. So that's an ongoing situation. But generally, I can't complain. Arms and legs are working. It's like, we're here. It's a sunny Sunday, and we're drinking beer.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, that always adds a nice cherry to the top of things.
Sure does.
There's so much we want to talk to you about today.
Sure.
I think a really good starting place is talking about your background, your roots,
Right.
What led you to Chico, and then maybe we can just kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, you can probably tell I'm from the deep south of England. So that's always the joke. But so I'm from England. I grew up in London, outskirts of London, basically the county of Kent, which is well known as being the center of the garden of hops, right? So that's where hops came from. That was a big garden. It was where everything was at. I got into beer early on in my career, which I kind of blame the church for, because I was in the choir. I transitioned to the men's choir. Men's choir always went down the pub, so I went down the pub. Couldn't really afford it, so I started my brewing career very early. So at the age of 14, I was brewing beer kits, which I could get from the local chemist, and they were dreadful, but they were cheap. But it was an introduction. So brewing I started off early on, and by the way, that is legal in the UK, just in case you know.
Right.
Under parents' supervision, that is perfectly legal.
Right.
So that's where it started from, and then I brewed pretty much right the way through university. I did microbiology at university, so I was a microbiologist. But when I came out, I decided I really didn't want to spend the rest of my life plating out unmentionables on agar plates, and so I flip-flopped and went into finance. Became a chartered accountant in the city of London with Deloitte. So that was my actual job. Kept on brewing right up to that point, but then business takes over. Brewing goes back, you buy beer, you go to pubs, you drink beer.
Right.
And so that's really the focus of what happened. But then as I went through that career, I did about 8 years in practice. And then I split off and became a consultant. And one of the companies that I was doing basically part-time CFO work for was a healthcare software company in the UK. But it was looking for restart capital. So we went around London and we found some restart capital. And its head office is here in Chico.
Wow.
So they're random, right?
That's crazy.
So I kept going backwards and forwards for a few years, a few years. And what occurred to me was that Chico is a really beautiful town. I mean, it's basically south of Spain, right? In terms of temperate, and speak mostly the same language.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And so we got up to the signing table, and the investors at that point said, Steve, we love the deal, we love you, we love what's going on, but we kind of want you to go work with the CEO because he doesn't have a financial bone in his body. You need to go manage this if we're going to do this.
Right.
So I went, well, probably need to talk to my wife and kids about that. So had a discussion. She came out here. We looked at the place and went, 18 months? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If only? No, let's just go do that. So we came over here for 18 months, which turned into 3 years, which turned into 30 plus years.
I was going to say, because you came over in 91?
95.
95.
So I started coming over in about 91, 92 as we were kind of working through the business. But yeah, so 95 we transitioned. And it was a wild ride. I mean, literally, it was a wild ride. We went from private to investors to Sand Hill Row. We got venture capital in.
Yeah.
We took it public in 2000. I think we're still the only public IPO that's ever been done in Chico, and the company is still actually working. So, but I jumped off at about 2001. And it was about then that I started going, kind of done with the IPA craze. It's like it was still in full flood at that point.
I was going to say 2001.
It was coming and it was going, but I kind of miss my British beers. The one thing, when people are like, what do you miss? What do you miss? Well, I miss the pubs and I miss the British beers. And you can't help it. It's in the blood, right? It's in the DNA.
Right.
And so I thought, I think I might just take up home brewing again. Well, home brewing had changed a lot. So we had, at that time, the homebrew shop. And I could get all of these grains. And I could get all of these hops. And so it rapidly became a very, very distracting side hobby. My now son-in-law, who was my daughter's boyfriend at the time, joined me and really enjoyed doing that. And we got to the point where we were brewing a lot. We were brewing, and we could barely keep it in the fridge because every time we did a batch, people would come around and go, "Oh, what you got on? What you got on?" So we would do another one. So we kept doing that, and then I came to a point where I sort of stupidly said I wanted a retirement job, a retirement position. And my son-in-law goes, well, what about doing a small brewery? And I went, that's ridiculous. That's never going to work. No. He goes, well, write a business plan. You're an accountant. Write a business plan and prove to me it won't work. I went, okay, I'll prove to you it won't work.
That's something that you can do. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I turned around and I started noodling the numbers and I was looking at it and went, actually, this could work if you just want. I don't want to be a Sierra Nevada. We don't want to be growing. But as a village brewery to Chico, keep it that size. It's like breweries, like you can be small, you can be huge, but there's like Death Valley in between the two.
Yes.
And that's the problem, right? So we decided, let's do this. Let's maybe do that. And it was supposed to be a part-time retirement business, right? No, not so much. So we literally built a 1,000 square foot brewery on our property in north of Chico. It's on our private land, but it turned out that we were approved in the deeds for the land. It was actually in the deeds for the land that we could be a brewery.
That's insane.
Which was mental
insane.
Because when I first went over to Butte County and they thought I'd come in with 3 heads on. I went in and I said, okay, I want to open up a home brewery. And they went, what? I'm not even sure that's even possible. So they said, leave it with us. We'll look at it. And then 2 days later, they called me up and they were so excited. And they went, you're actually approved for it. I went, what are you talking about? He goes, your land is approved for a brewery, a microbrewery. I went, you're kidding.
No way.
And it's like, oh, this has to be.
Yeah.
So we built this small 1,000 square foot brewery. I contracted with a Brew Built, which is an amazing manufacturer for brew kit.
Yeah.
He was literally just starting up. He'd just come down from Portland Kettles,
right?
And he was just starting up, and he needed some business.
Wow!
So I was the needed business that gave him payroll for about a few months.
Yeah, sure.
So he did this amazing deal for me, and we've got Brew Built equipment. Wow. So it's basically we churn out about 6+ barrels per brew on a full brew cycle, completely manual. All we did is we took our manual setup and we pumped it up. We became like ant size to the brew kit rather than the other way around.
Wow.
So we have 2 pumps, we have 2 thermostats. That is how we manage our brewing. We hand mash, we hand do everything. We transfer with pipes, we move pipes around. We have the whole thing is just manually done.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we brew, and we started brewing. And by the time we started brewing, so that was like 2017 is when we actually went live.
Sure.
And we did our first kickoff at Burgers and Brew. That went off like great. And we decided that because we were in a private brewery, we couldn't really do anything. We had some growler fills up there, which we could do, but we couldn't retail because we were on private land. So we regarded, like everyone, as being our tap room. And we figured that was the business model.
Right.
And it started off okay. But you quickly learn that beer is beer to these guys. And there's so many breweries and there's so many things to bring in. And our beer, to be honest, is the very British style beers.
Yeah.
They're different. They don't necessarily sell as fast because people don't know what they're drinking. They don't have the understanding for it. They don't know, and so, it slowly caught fire, if you know what I mean. It was smoking for a long time. But at one point we ended up with 100 accounts.
Wow.
So we were servicing, myself, my son-in-law, and we had a third-party sales guy. We were servicing 100 accounts and we were exhausted. And we were poor.
Yeah.
Because it's only after you get into it that you find the things you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so once all of those costs came in and we started seeing really what was happening, we figured like we need to be brewing about twice as much. And we would still be making less than I could make by just getting a local job.
Right.
And so we were going, okay, this isn't going to work. So we then made the change. So about 2.5 years in, we made the change and we said we need to go vertical because that's where the margins were. So we started looking for a tap room, and we started looking around town. And very quickly we looked at a place, and the landlord said, no, that's not going to work for you. There's no parking over there. There's nothing you can do over there. Come look at this place downtown. We looked at each other and went, it's going to have food because you can't just have a bar downtown. We're not allowing bars downtown with no food. So we went, okay, all right, well, we'll just go have a look at it. And we walked around the back of this place and we looked up and we saw a London pub because it's literally a London Victorian pub.
This is a gem of a place. Insane.
And it was crazy because with that patio, downstairs we've got a cellar. We've got this whole area here, super quiet because we're not on the main road.
Right.
Which is both good and bad. So, but it's mainly good for all the patrons because they love it here. We don't have, people roaring past with traffic. It's beautiful downtown patio. You could be literally in a London, in a city of London pub, which is great.
I was going to say that this patio, and they have patios on the main street just across this block, and it's totally different vibes. Of
it's
patio.
really peaceful back here, especially on a day like today, sitting out in the sun. Really can't beat it.
Yeah, and so between the four of us, because obviously we knew our British pubs, we set about changing this to a British pub to serve our beers. What that meant was essentially changing it from a computer office with white walls and all the rest of it in offices. We changed it into what you now see, which is a classic looking pub with a snug. We put in a full kitchen back there. So it was a labor of love,
right?
But yeah, it was a lot of work, but we were really proud to do that. And when we opened up, took off, it was great. That was 6 months before COVID.
Oh,
yeah, brutal.
Rough.
So we were literally through the first 6 months, and racing away, everything was going great, and then it came down. Now good and bad, right? So the bad is obviously really bad,
right?
But the good was it actually gave us a chance to really step into the fundamental roles of running a kitchen, running a bar, running it the way it needed to be run. Because then we knew the processes, right? So once it started to build up again, we knew exactly how many people we needed, where we needed them, how to run it, how to kind of mold it, because the margins are still super slim, as you know. So we started to build up, and we ran the place for 5.5 years, 6 years, But we kind of at that point, I'd broken my son-in-law by that point. So because this manual stuff, it was kicking his butt. Should have been kicking my butt, but it was kicking his butt. And so we needed to slow down the brew rates and stuff. And he was working on another business at the time as well. So it made sense for us to kind of slow down, because now we're just serving this pub. We pulled back from all of the other wholesaling. Right. We're just serving a beer out of here. But that's great because we can serve it the British style, as well as, we've got draft, we've got like IPAs, double IPAs, and all that kind of stuff. We actually had about 50 recipes when we actually came to being commercial, because we love beer across the spectrum, But it meant that we could install 4 English handles, which means that, they're cask ales, and we lift them from the basement by hand, and drinking them right now, super, fairly still, creamy head, almost like a nitro, which is where nitro came from, right? So creamy head, and we serve them at 50 degrees, so you can actually taste the beer. Yeah. So rather than it being frozen and whatever. So but we'd have the frozen ones as well.
Sure.
So,
yeah. If you're into that kind
we love that. I mean, I like to, if it's really hot, what am I going to? I'm going to come in and have a blonde ale, freezing cold, and chug it. That's great.
100%.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, there's nothing if Chicoans aren't anything but adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So giving an option, like you said, slow at first, trying new things, but people will come in if they get curious, and then if they really. If it sticks, you'll know it in Chico for sure.
And I think that's one of the really special things about this place that I kind of want to talk to you about is, compared to every other place you can get a beer in town, you guys do something different. You offer a different style of beer, a totally different flavor profile. And while that can take some time for people to get used to, it sets you apart from everybody else. And don't get me wrong, there's great beer being made all across town.
Yeah, absolutely.
But being able to say we are the place to go if you want an English style ale, that's got to be pretty significant.
It's very significant, because ultimately, English style ales don't travel well, because they're low alcohol and they will spoil easily. So even when you get to a place which does have maybe a handle or two not many places in Northern California, but if you can go to a couple of places, there's one in Folsom, for example, they'll put on Fuller's beer. It doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste right because it's traveled too long. And hats off to them for pushing it. Mm-hmm. It's great. But ultimately, if you taste that next to a London pub that's running Fuller's, it'll be a different flavor. It tastes old. Just because it doesn't travel well. So there's that. But so we obviously brew our own British style beers and put them on here. But I think the other thing is we are truly a British pub.
Yes. We
are not a bar. We are not a drinking house. We're actually a family community center, which has beer and wine and food. Our food is very British centric. You've probably looked at the menu.
That's great.
And we have pies, we have pastas, we have Scotch eggs, we have bangers and mash, We don't do fish and chips, okay? So if you are coming here for fish and chips, in England, we always make this point. In England, if you want fish and chips, true fish and chips, you go to the chippy. You don't go to the pub, because that's where you get the true fish and chips. It's a hole in the wall. Yeah. It's a hole in the wall. All they do is fish and chips, and they'll do. If you ask for a medium cod, it hangs over your plate like this. It's incredible. Yeah. But that's why we don't. So we don't do fish and chips. Plus, we would need about $250,000 upgrade in our kitchen for fire suppression. So it's another reason not to do it.
I was going to say the public house is something that fascinates me specifically, just coming from way back in history, with taverns and stuff like that, and then public houses became a thing. Yeah. And it was just I've had other people from England explain it to me as an extension of one's own house, which is in this town especially, it's just full of college sports bars and everything. And this is just such a breath of fresh air to come in. You have the fireplace and the cozy seats and the little, what do you call it? Snugs. Yeah, snugs. It's awesome. It's a really good homey feel. And I would like more of them, but it's fun.
Well, and we do a lot of music here as well, but it's really about that idea of creating a place where everyone's welcome. It's the place where effectively doesn't matter what your stature is in life. Everyone comes in here and takes a few steps down, and you can talk to anybody. Anybody can talk to you. It's family friendly. We're dog friendly on the patio. It's just it's a vibe, right? Yes. It's a community vibe, which is really what they're trying to preserve right now in the UK. So that was the whole push. So
Steve, one of the things as we've kind of been talking through this that I'm really curious about in your case, you started home brewing, like you said, at the age of 14. You came back to it when you got here and settled in Chico. What about the brewing process kind of draws you to it? I mean, obviously the beer at the end of it is great, but what about the process itself kind of made you say, I'm passionate about this?
So classically, I think that also goes to my interests because I was a microbiologist. And so I think the whole science of brewing is just fascinating. I really enjoyed the process. I love working with microorganisms. Well, you don't get much more micro than yeast, right?
Right.
So and they are fascinating. I mean, I could go on for half an hour on how amazing yeast are, but I won't because it'll bore everyone to death. But they are an amazing little microbe, and just the whole dance of like creating the worts and then using the hops to flavor it. And to me, it's really interesting. It's like my wife is amazing at cooking because she can taste in her head the food. So she'll pull things from the fridge or wherever she's pulling it from, and she'll know exactly the herbs to put with it, the spices to put with it, how to cook it this way, saute this, do that and the other. And she pulls together a meal that, frankly, I'm just so grateful that I live in my house, right? So, and that's every day for her. For me, I don't have that. So if I have to fix a meal for myself, it's really dull. But oddly enough, I didn't find that with brewing. Once I started to really investigate grains and malts, I could build that malt schedule in my head and I could taste it. And so I knew exactly, how much of the honey malt to put in there, or how much of the C60, the C120, the crystal malts. Right. And we use a lot of malts in our brewing, and the British brewing process uses a lot of malts. Nothing against the US malts whatsoever, but it's largely a two-row game, right? Well, Freedom, which you're drinking right there, has 12 malts in it.
Yeah,
it has a grain bill of 12 malts, and that all goes together to create that flavor profile. And as you're building these recipes, you're going through and going, yeah, no, I need a bit of this, I need a bit of that. So we're very malt focused, but then on top of that, we're very hop focused. But we're hop focused with the ancient hops, more so than the modern hops. We do modern hops too. I mean, our bearded bastard is like, double IPA, classic West Coast, everything you could want, Citra, the whole 9 yards.
He knows who's in town.
Exactly. But we do that because A, we like it, but B, it brings people in because they want that. But ultimately we love this area. So we're using East Kent Goldings, Fuggles, North Downer, Pilgrim. We're using all of the UK style ancient hops, right? So that creates another profile to it. So you want those hops to live alongside the malt, not to be over the top of it. So British IPA, for example, you wouldn't even recognize it as an IPA. You'd think it's a pale ale, which is fine, but it's a British IPA. Because a British pale ale is going to taste like this. It's like the hops are almost like subtle. They really should dry out the malt sweetness, and that's pretty much it, and to flavor it somewhat. So that combination, and I can taste all of these in my head. It's like it was like the super skill I had is like tasting the beer before I ever made it. So we very rarely ever had to, once we decided on a style, I very rarely ever had to make many modifications to it because it's like, I can taste that. And I would just look at the malts and the malt grains. So I have 40 different malts in my malt house, and I have 40 different hops in my hop house. So it's a combination game, as far as that's concerned. And to me, it's like painting. You have a canvas.
Try it out.
You have a canvas. You go, I'm going to do a portrait. Well, what does that look like? I'm going to do, a still life. What does that look like? I'm going to do, a picture of a hill or something, or a scene, a landscape. And they're all very different, right? And you have to be able to see it, smell it, think it, taste it, and then commit, So that's kind of a lot of what we love about brewing. And honestly, every time I brew, I love it, even though it kills me.
That's one of
because it's so manual.
That's one of the most interesting things that I've found in just like this last year of podcasting, telling these stories, getting to know everything about it is just how little you can tweak a recipe and put something in and have completely different flavors. Yeah. And just how much it is really science and art at the same time.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is, and I think that's the beauty of it. And then once you've kind of nailed it, then it's about how passionate, how scientific are you about repeating that,
Right?
And so we're not like Sierra Nevada. We wouldn't have all of that gear, but we are absolutely dedicated. We weigh everything to 0.1 of a pound, right? So all of our grains are exactly the same number. Each year, those grains are going to change somewhat. So our beers will change somewhat. You might even get some variability within each batch. But fundamentally, if you taste one against another,
yes,
you should say, no, that's got exactly the same feel, the same notes, same everything in there. And again, because we do not pasteurize, we do not filter, these are all live beers. The batch actually matures over the life of the beer. Right? So the first beer, the green beer, will taste different from the final beer. I have it's actually one of our members, but he loves freedom. I mean, loves freedom.
Yeah.
And I always know when we're 3/4 of the way through the batch, and I know what's coming. He'll come and go, Steve, best yet. I say, where we are? He goes, 3/4 of the way? He goes, yeah. Because that's the point where he has a very subtle tongue.
Sure.
He can tell that that's exactly that's exactly the profile he's looking for in freedom. It's just got the right amount of sweetness, but the right amount of aging that really kind of that contributes to that.
On that first sip, he's like, ooh,
that's
yeah,
it. Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah exactly. So, we are very dedicated to producing consistent beers. And to be honest, a lot of our beers are the same year round now because people have a penchant for that particular type of beer. So we have to have a range. We've got 12 taps up there. Since we've become a community-owned pub, we've brought Ramble West in as well because we want to partner with the local breweries as well. So we brought Ramble West in. They have a couple of taps here, and we love those guys. So
they're awesome,
fantastic. So Jim and Ryan, they're awesome. So we work with them, and but yeah, we only have 12 taps, and so when I actually go through it, it's like 3 of the handfuls basically are on year round. One we will modify and change, and we'll do different. What is called a bitter,
right?
But we will, or we'll put on an IPA, or we'll do a red or something. But that one we will change over. But the number of people that if I took off freedom, they've been chasing me down the road. So we do a lot of similar style beers, which is actually much more like, oddly enough, the British brewery scene. If you go to a British brewery, even large breweries, they basically are centered around probably 5 or 6 beers.
Yeah,
and that's it. They don't have thousands of beers in their range. They're not constantly producing something new. They'll do something to celebrate something. They did a coronation beer, for example. But it will be an on and off. And it wouldn't come back out again. So it's a very kind of different scene over there. Although it has become the microbrewery scene that followed from here to there, which was great to see.
I had a buddy come from England visit a couple of years ago, and I asked him what he wanted. We went to a tap house, and he said, he was like, I'll take a beer. I was like, what kind of beer? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, and I quickly had to show him, like, there's a menu, brother. And he was like, looked at it and said, get me what you get.
Yeah, exactly. No, because it can be a lot that way. Particularly back in the old days of Ireland, it was like light or dark. They had 2 beers, light or dark. Okay, that was it.
And people were happy with those.
No, they
2
were.
beers.
Well, oddly enough, the less choice you have, the easier the decision.
For real. Think about In-N-Out Burger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they've got a lot of secret menus there. So,
yeah. Sure.
Steve, you mentioned being a community-owned pub now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I wanted to go and talk about the decision to become a nonprofit. And I know it's a specific type of nonprofit, right? More akin to what you'd see with the co-op or something like that. Can you talk about kind of what went into that decision, why you wanted to go that direction?
Yeah, so as I said before, we'd been running the place for 5-6 years, and my wife and I really needed to take a step back. My son-in-law's business is starting to bloom, and we're faced with a decision, right? What do we do? We're exhausted. It's been great. We've loved the journey, but we needed a transition. My wife and I want to travel more. We're getting on in terms of like wanting to enjoy some of our retirement now instead of just working it out. Yeah. And so we the classic thing in the US is sell or close. And that's what business owners do all the time. I mean, you see it in downtown Chico all the time. Sell or close.
Smoking Moe's.
Yep, Smoky Moe's, Mimona.
Yeah.
I mean, even Winchester Goose.
Yeah.
It's a business owner's prerogative, but it has an impact on the community. And oddly enough, in the sort of 6 months to a year when we started thinking about what is the transition here, what is the succession here, the number of people that would come up to us almost on a daily basis saying, "Don't you ever close this? Don't you ever do that? Because this is a diamond here in Chico. We love it. You must keep it going." And so you're kind of like racking your soul, because it's like, well, nobody's buying pubs in this economy right now. I mean, they're worthless effectively, right? So selling it, and if you do sell it, there's no way that it's necessarily going to carry on the way it was. It's just somebody's going to have their ideas and what they're going to do. Close
Especially this place.
Yeah, exactly. And then close it. Well, again, I think people were going to run after me with pitchforks based on what we've been being told. And so I didn't want that either. And frankly, I wanted to come somewhere like a pub to go drink anyway. So I looked to the UK, and the UK model, which has been going now for 50 years, but very much so since COVID and pre-COVID, is community-owned pubs. And in fact, the king is actually behind a trust to keep pubs open, because in any village there are 3 key aspects: you have a post office, you have a church, and you have a pub. And the pub is actually the community center. Yeah. Because people lie when they go to church.
Yeah.
At least that's what the vicars tell me. So the pub is kind of the melting pot, and they are this kind of environment, which is family friendly, dog friendly, everything friendly. In fact, we would love to have dogs inside, because in any pub in the UK, you're going to see as many dogs inside as you will see people, and it's fantastic, and everyone's patting the dog. But so we looked at that model. So I got in touch with a friend of mine who actually was the key logistics guy for Green King Green King Brewery in the UK. He put me in touch with all of the non-profits and a number of pubs over there who have done this. And so I started talking to them as we started kind of putting aside the sale document and saying, okay, well, if we're not selling it, how do we do this? So they talked me through, that prospect. And then we went to Sacramento and got a non-profit, attorney. And they said, what you're talking about is a community benefit organization. It is a 501c3, but it is a community benefit organization such that it can be membership owned, or basically it's invested in by the community under membership to create the cash flow to allow it to exist and to exist into the future. But any profits then you make from the economic engine, which is unlike most 501c3s, we do have an economic engine, which is the pub, right? Which is the bar and the food. So we have that going. Any of those profits that come out from that, well, the membership get to decide where to invest those profits.
That's awesome.
So I mean, some of it could be beautification in here, which is fine, but a lot of it could be things that we want to do downtown, without having to get the city to do it, without having to kind of go through all the politics of doing it. We have the access, we have the funds, we can get the project done. And a lot of people like that approach. Plus, as a community center now, as a community venue, we're doing more and more and more community aspects. So, every month now we're planning a major community event. So we've got Burns Night coming up, which is right now it's members only, because I think the members are going to buy all the tickets. But we have Burns Night coming up in February. We're actually at the end of February we're doing a Lit Fest. So we're actually going to be running a literature festival here at Allies, where we're going to be bringing in authors and writers and people that write poetry, and we're going to have a poetry competition against AI, and we're going to do all sorts of things. So it's a whole day event. In March, we're going to do a TSD car rally, which is to raise funds for a veteran to get them a service dog, and stuff like that. So we can do a lot more community-based things, and a lot of what I do now is helping to generate that. But then also, we have members that we can cast this off to. So the event side of things is not just on one person's shoulders anymore. It starts to transition to multiple people.
Right. More community-based approach.
More community-based, exactly. And so, that's the journey we're now on for the next couple of years, bringing in and filling up the membership and then keeping the doors open and using that to really transition this into a thriving hub for downtown Chico, which, because it's community-owned, means that it has longevity, right? So it's not going anywhere. It's a key asset for downtown Chico. And it'll start to get recognized for that. So, I mean, each hands watch each other, right? So you've got a situation now where if we're bringing more people to downtown, the other businesses benefit from that too.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
it's kind of a
It's
cute
such
deal.
a fascinating thing, right? Because it makes sense for this establishment. It follows a lot of the tradition that this place is kind of built on.
Mm.
You know, when you're looking at how they do things in the UK, and then it kind of encourages people to say, hey, if this is somewhere we want to see, you know, thrive for years to come, we can be a part of it. We can do our part to, you know, make sure that this place sticks around and make sure that we can do things and make positive change in the community as we see fit.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I mean, membership's not for everyone. I mean, you've got to have capital, B, you've got to be philanthropic, and C, you've got to be super into the community. And so, but when those three things come together, this totally makes sense to people.
Right.
But because we're a 501c3, we can still do donations. We can still have volunteers. We can still have voluntary stuff going on. So, you know, we do a lot of that. And we're very heavily invested in supporting art, local art, you know, particularly music. We have music minimum 4 times a week, usually 5 times a week. And you know, it's like that's still going out into the communities. Communities still don't realize that we support local musicians. We have 4 or 5 times a week. We have once a month we have a men's shanty choir in here. We have pirates coming in. They're actually in full gear.
Sweet.
And you know, they'll sing along. And then twice a month we have a true Irish session in the Snug here, where, you know, it's open to all players, and that's fantastic. We have uilleann pipes and, you know, barons and button accordions, and it's
awesome.
It's fantastic. And then, you know, we have kind of like sing along Americana as well and stuff like. So, you know, our event schedule, which is on our website, is very full of all of that stuff. We also do like a members lecture once a month where a member will talk about something they're absolutely fascinated about and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we do a lot of stuff that's very off the wall and very different. So, but it you know, the more we do it, the more we can get people interested in it. I think, you know, just the bigger this can build and become self-supporting, and then it can be, you know, town supporting, bring people back to downtown.
Absolutely. Yeah. Steve, I want to be, you know, respectful of your time, but I did kind of want to take a moment or two to talk about the journey that you've been on so far. Yeah. I mean, with British Bulldog, with Allies, with, you know, putting down roots in Chico itself. What's this entire experience meant to you? What's been maybe the most rewarding part about getting to, you know, be a part of this community? What sticks out to you?
So it's been a lot of work. It has. The community itself, when I was working for the healthcare software company, I was largely isolated from the community. You know, we were doing our stuff and then, you know, working hard. I was up and down to the Bay Area all the time. You know, I was flying around the country all the time. You know, and then, you know, that's kind of how it worked. But this was a great base for the family, and the family and the locality just totally made sense. I mean, it's a really cool family-friendly town. We fell in love with it. The kids fell in love with it. Everyone says they're going to leave, and they don't.
Right.
You know, so they do, and they bounce back. It's like the boomerang town, right? So you know, and people go away, and then they regret it, and they want to go come back. So we didn't go through that. We just went, no, actually, we really love it here. What we have around us with the outdoors is amazing. We've got upper park, lower park. You know, you're 2 hours plus from snow skiing and or boarding or whatever you want to do, snowshoeing. You know, anything. You know, it's actually harder for us to get to the coast here than it would be in the UK anywhere. But even so, it's a beautiful, beautiful drive, right? Yeah. So from that perspective, you know, you've got all of this beautiful scenery. For a while, I was working in Reno, and so I was driving to and from Reno, you know, once a week, and I would go down the 70, you know, and through the tunnels and up through Feather River. Oh, it's just insane, you know. So we live in God's country for sure. Yeah, it's beautiful here, and that's been great. Having said that, I've worked really, really, really hard to make that all happen, and sometimes it gets really tough, you know, but you just have to hang on there. But living where we do, you know, is kind of the reward in itself. Yes. You know, whenever you get to that point where you think, that's it, you know, I'm kind of done, I can't do this anymore, you kind of go, hang on a minute. If I walk outside and I can see the mountains by the coast, and I can look into the foothills, and I can see for 80 miles with nothing in the way, and you can breathe this air, which is super clean, super clear, straight off the Pacific, and you go, okay, let's get back to it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
and
so
and
true.
to me, it's like if I didn't have something to do, I'd fall over dead anyway.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, running it as a charity at this point and turning that into my hardworking retirement has been, it's both exhilarating and exhausting, but I'd say it's exhilarating because I think to me it's like hold the tiger by the tail, right? Go for it. Every chapter, never regret it. And even when things have gone badly wrong, and we've invested a lot in this place, we've invested a lot in the brewery, you know, it's like it doesn't matter because we're still here, we're still working, and you know, we love what we do. And the most rewarding thing of actually really opening up this, which I didn't expect, was how much I've loved getting to know the community, because that was the transition from not knowing the community to being part of the community and meeting the members and meeting the people out here and talking about the stories and remembering, oh yeah, you came back from Ireland. Yeah, how was that trip? And they would tell me about it, stories. And to me, the best thing that I've had out of all of this is the stories and the people.
That's awesome.
Every podcast we've done with a brewer, they talk about the beer, of course, and how passionate they are about the beer. But we come around to this point pretty much every single episode where it's the beer is important, but what you're really building with a brewery, with a pub, is a community.
That's right.
You're creating a space for people to come together, share experiences, make memories. Above everything else, that's the most important part. That's why breweries, the successful breweries, create that space to where people can come together and have that time together.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, we actually murdered a Latin phrase up there. I don't know if you've seen it over the top of the bar. So most people know the first part, which is in vino veritas, which means there is truth in wine, or in wine there is truth. So we added our own one, which is in Cervisium Fabulis, which means in beer there are stories.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And to me, that's it. It's like life is so meaningful when you can share experiences, share stories in a comfortable place where everyone can just set their tools at the door, set their ego at the door, come in and chat. It's a great feeling.
Yes.
I almost want to end it there, but I do have one last question, just because I'm very curious about this. I'm thinking about this today. I'm sure you have fellow countrymen come in and visit this place. What's their reaction to experiencing Allies?
So that's really interesting. So obviously, friends of ours, you know, it's like going to church, right? So they're going to lie to me, but they all love it. What's more interesting is when they don't know I'm a Brit here, and somebody drags in a Brit, and they're coming in and going, oh yeah, British pub, and they come in and they go,
hold on,
oh, whoever did this did a great job. This is really, really good. They've got hand-pulled beer, you know, and so, you know, they come up to the bar and quite often they'll order something, and you know, we then start swapping stories, and they say, oh, you sound like me. Oh, you sound like me, and so, you know, we'll have the discussion. So the funniest story actually out of all of that is that completely randomly, a chap showed up one day, and he came in and he looked around and he came up and he ordered the Freedom. And I said, you sound a lot like me. He goes, you sound a lot like me. We actually grew up not like a mile from each other.
No way.
Really?
We never knew each other. We'd never seen each other. And we became fast friends, obviously.
That's
but yeah, we started talking about the bus routes.
Oh,
And the roads, you know, so,
yeah.
And, you know, that's the kind of thing that can happen. And that's what, you know, so I've yet to find a true Brit who doesn't come in here and go, oh yeah, no, you got it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. That is awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, Steve, I wanted to thank you
sincerely
for making the time to sit down with us today. This has been fantastic.
I really enjoyed it.
Is there anything else you wanted to add? Anything that the pub has coming up? Any events? Anything people should be looking out for?
So we're always looking out for those philanthropic member potentials. So please get in touch if you're interested in what we're doing, how we're doing it. It's a one-time membership fee. It's basically a lifetime membership that you can pass to your kids. So it's just a one-time deal. It's like joining a country club.
Right.
It's a one-time deal.
Right.
But beyond that, we have a lot of events upcoming. As I said, we've got the Burns Night, we've got Lit Fest, which is coming up at the end of February. We've got the TSD Rally, which is a car rally at the end of March. April we'll probably take a break because there's a lot of that. Basically, places generally get busy in April anyway. In May, I think we're looking at another kind of probably a Cobra Club meet here. But other than that, just every week we've got music. Every week we have trivia here. Look at the event schedule.
Yeah.
We've got lots going on, and it's really all to bring the community together and give them all of the various different aspects of what the pub can bring together for the community.
That's all on the website.
It's all on the
We'll
website.
put a link in the description for folks
Perfect.
who want to check it out. But
Excellent.
awesome.
Thank you so
Steve,
much.
Thank you
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This has been
Cheers.
fantastic.
Enjoyed it.